This episode is mostly about our village, or as you would say in Hindi, the Gam. The first thing we realized as soon as we got there is that there's not really any modern asphalt roads. They are simply ground paths to go around a small neighborhood of people who all know each other. From what I learnt, they all spend a lot of time together living a calm life. And if we turn to the left, this is our Indian family's house, where we would spend the next weekend. It really is lovely, the environment is peaceful, and there's a nice garden. Here you can see us with my grandfather's cousin and his wife, who are the owners of the house and a very respected couple among the Gam. Immediately, we noticed that things were very different from here in Europe. We were fascinated by how the clothes were traditionally washed. We were walking by the lake the first morning when we spotted these ladies washing their clothes by the water. Now I knew that this was something very usual in the past, but I would have never imagined that it still happened today. It's just the way of life. We even spotted a buffalo, but this is just something we'd have to get used to. Next, we walked over to the mandir or local temple, where we were welcomed by some sculptures of the Hindu gods. We also met some kids playing with kites.
Look at the friends I made.
They were even kind enough to give us a go, and I reflected on how generous they can be.
It's incredible.
Is it?
It's really cool.
This is what the streets in the village look like, a dry environment, but a nice and quiet place. You can see someone casually sweeping the streets with an Indian broom, and there's my excited dad riding a moped for the first time in years. Our Indian family owns part of a farm in the village, so when we travelled there I was really excited to go and see all the land. This is me entering the shared farm for the first time. When we got in, the first thing I noticed was a tree that I had never seen before. I learned that it gives a tasty fruit which in English is called sapodilla.
What are they?
It's fruit.
Can you just eat it like that?
Yeah, inside.
Yeah.
They're still a bit raw.
It was nice, but maybe a bit too sweet for my liking. Further away, we found a large field of sugarcanes. Sugarcanes are common in India, and later in this video I'll be tasting them.
So actually all this piece here, they had the rice, so they've harvested the rice, then they've tilled the soil, let it dry a bit, and then they will plant sugarcane. This bit here is where they do the rotational crops. So this side is mango, and mostly on mango you can't rotate.
Curiously, we found an abandoned tractor among the crops. Inside the farm, we came across some very interesting shrines, and at first I wasn't sure of what they were. It turned out that this was actually where my great-grandparents had been buried, and I had no idea until then. This first monument is where my great-grandfather was buried. He was a kind and generous man, but he sadly passed away in his adulthood. This other memorial honors my great-grandmother, and around it were other small constructions. The oldest one is for my great-great-grandmother, and the rest for my grandfather's perished sisters. One of them unfortunately passed away in her 40s. And the other tragically died at the age of 16 because she was bitten by a cobra. I really wish I could have met them. We paid our respect by decorating with some flowers. When we got back to the neighborhood, we visited some of the closer houses and admired their nature.
These are our friends from the village. Look at all the buffaloes and cows they have.
These farmers were authentic. It surprised me to see the buffaloes, the beautiful peacock by the roof, and even the exotic mango trees. Afterwards, I took a look at the vital water dispenser.
So here, guys, is the water dispenser, the water machine, and for 3 rupees, for only 3 rupees, and for reference, this is like 3 cents, you get 10 liters of water.
So you put money in and you get fresh water. You either pay by card or coins. So 1 liter is 1 rupee. So 10 liters, 10 rupees. Wow. So if you have a card, then for 10 liters, you pay 3 rupees, which is very, very cheap.
We were then taken behind the system to see all the plumbing marvels. It's crazy to think that a whole village only relies on this fragile source of water. And the good thing is that there were some incredible views of the Gam from where we were standing. Some days later, we crossed over to our grandparents' old house, which has been repurposed as a school for young kids around our village and from other nearby villages. Taking a look inside, one thing I noticed was the size. Compared to schools in the rest of the world, you could say this was a rather small one. Here's where the students do their tuition classes early in the morning before the school lessons start. This is their class, this is where they do everything, all their lessons, the teachings, and they have no tables or chairs, so they have to sit on the floor and put the books on their laps, but they are happy with what they have. So we decided to hand everyone a pencil case with lots of school supplies to help them out. They were all very grateful and that made me happy. Later on we explored the outskirts of the village. This is where you can find the train station for people who live around the area. What truly shocked me the most was that you could see people freely crossing the train tracks with no apparent hurry. And believe me, it's not like the railway system was unavailable, because moments later we realized the many dangers. That night we enjoyed a delightful show of fireworks.
We had a good night's sleep, and the next day we set off to explore the nearby city of Surat.
And as always, you could see a lot of animals walking by the car. Surat was huge and bustling, just like you'd expect any Indian city to be. We came across an interesting sugarcane juice seller and watched how he inserted the canes into a machine which did all the grinding for him. And you know me, I did have to try it.
That's more or less what it looks like. It's actually pretty nice. This is how a man makes traditional vada. He's putting this paste into this pot of oil and he's frying it.
Vada includes lentils, chickpeas, potatoes and more, so I gave it a try and tell you what, it was pretty good. We spent the afternoon hanging out with these two cheeky fellas. I'm not a big fan of football myself, but I must say everyone was really kind and we had a great time. Thank you so much for taking us around Surat.
We then went on a motor rickshaw tour to check out some of the local shops and markets. Oh yeah, these are the classic rickshaws, let's get in.
They may look small, but no one can deny how comfortable they are, come on. Now I had seen a lot of these vehicles in India, but this was my first time in one. I somehow managed to get in the front even though there was just one seat, and the driver was a really talkative guy. You will never guess how many of these things were in India. The fact that you can witness all this business and commerce in what looks like a remote area is striking. I was having a great time, but the best thing that day was trying the faluda or Indian milkshake, which was extremely tasty. It's a pink drink made with jelly, rose syrup, sabja seeds and ice cream. Overall, a great experience.
When we got back to the Gam, we paid our respects in one of the temples because we'd soon be leaving to another city.
And this is another mandir, this time a bigger one. Another religious place. This is Shiva's mandir. It was finally time to leave the village, and after saying goodbye to almost everyone, I spoke to a Pekshafoy, a very funny person, someone very joyful to have, and Mangudada, a wise and incredibly charismatic man.
They both told me something very deep. They insisted that I should work hard in life, do well in my exams and my studies, because they never had the chance to.
They blessed me and told me that I had all the opportunities I needed to become anything in life. We already have all the luck we need, so now it's up to us to succeed.
And I definitely know someone from the village who will succeed.
This boy over here is called Rushil. He's my age, studies the same things as me, and he would like to do his course on aerospace engineering. This is him doing a dance with his team at school. I think we bonded a lot.
I will be missing everyone so much.
You see, it was a very sad feeling when we left. My dad had to leave his moped and we were all in silence throughout the whole journey. Even though our last city was none other than Mumbai, all the tourism made us miss the village and never see the wonderful country in the same way. I reflected on how ungrateful humans can be sometimes, and I'm including myself.
It was the day before we left India, and as a last adventure, we decided to stroll to the beach and discover the world of coconuts.
This man chose a nice juicy coconut for us and started cutting his way through the layers of the fruit using his knife like a pro. If you're wondering whether it's as satisfying as it looks, let me tell you it's even more, especially when he gets to that coconut water bit.
Oh, that looks great.
Tremendously refreshing. But as all good things, it was eventually time for our Christmas holidays in India to come to a sudden end. So we had our New Year's dinner with everyone and said our goodbyes. By the way, massive thanks to my awesome family from New Zealand. We had a fantastic time together. And the next day we were off to the airport, leaving the majestic country. However, we didn't exactly head back to Spain, but I'll leave that experience for a future video. And this brings us to the end of our journey through the heart of India. We've witnessed a contrast of themes that define this nation. We've not only explored the picturesque landscapes, we've also celebrated the festivals, tasted the flavors, and felt the heartbeat of India that proudly carries the weight of its history and dreams for the future. So until we meet again on another adventure, keep spreading love and embracing diversity. This is Ravji Boy signing off from In Love with India. Stay inspired, stay curious, and as always, stay in love with life. Shukriya and Namaste.